just flip flops on, singing through that highway song. Got a little naive smile, the kind that drives you out. Nothing like playing with fire, brings boy to life. Be with the fuse you light, you're good dynamite. You made my day when you walked into town beside me, whispered with your eyes, let's go. You made me say, what's your name, girl, you're lonely. Can I call you if I ever go down this road? And I can't seem to find the thing.
The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
14:20 in the morning, 14 minutes and 20 seconds where the sports talk to get you through your daily commute. Hot takes, recaps, best bets, and a little humor to get your day going in the right direction. Sit back, grab your coffee, and let's get into it. All right, 14:20 in the morning for this June the 28th, 2023. Today's show is brought to you by Caldera Labs and calderalab.com. Use promo code 1420labs or just lab at calderalab.com today and get yourself the best in men's skincare, 20% off by using our promo code at Caldera Labs. Remember, we are part of the Belly Up Media Network. Go to bellyupsports.com for more great podcasts and all the best sports articles under the sun, all at bellyupsports.com. And thank you for making us a part of your day each and every day here on YouTube Live, our YouTube channel, or on the podcast forum, which people are listening to at a frenetic pace. So it's very thankful that people are still listening to me flap my gums on a daily basis. And when Dave joins us a couple of times a week here at 1420 World Headquarters. But anyways, thank you very much, as always, for following and listening to the show. Well, it makes me sad to say that once again, the New York Metropolitans, the New York Mets are going to Met. There's no matter what they do year in, year out. They just Mets are going to Met. And even with the win last night, the Mets are sitting at 36-43, 16 games behind the piping hot Atlanta Braves, probably the best team in baseball. In fact, I'm not even going to say probably the best team in baseball. They are the best team in baseball right now. They just are flying, like I said. But the Mets are 16 games back, a far cry from the team that graced Citi Field last week in Flushing, or last year in Flushing, Queens, and had a 101 win season the whole bit. They had a great year last year. This year they really went for it. They now have the highest payroll in baseball history at over $343 million. Factor in the taxes they got to pay, and Steve Cohen, the multi-billionaire, he's got a bit of a mess on his hands out there in Queens. He's not sure what we're going to do. I'll get to that in half a second. But the highest payroll in baseball, it's just didn't quite cut it this year. A few injuries here and there that happened. Scherzer hasn't been great. Verlander hasn't been great, but more things happen outside of just those three guys. But the Mets are going to Met, and it makes me sad to say that. One, more so for the prediction that I made back at the Belly Up Baseball Super Show back in March during spring training, and then even before that, I actually came up with this one on my own, that Shohei Ohtani was going to end up in Queens this year with the Mets, and because they were going to go on a pretty decent run with the trades that they made. And I threw the old dart at the old dartboard and was hoping that it was going to stick. I did it for clickbait, obviously. The people, that's what when you have podcasts and you're on the air all the time, you want to get something out there that people listen to. And I thought I had this one right, that Shohei Ohtani was going to go to the Mets and put them over the top and have a chance at a World Series. And I more so predicted that because I thought once again that the Angels were going to absolutely stink as they usually do, and they're going to be out of playoff contention by about game 20. But the Angels find themselves in a playoff spot right now, in a wild card spot, doing everything right now in the game of baseball. Have a great record right now, 44-37 at exactly the midpoint of the season. So they set themselves up for a good second half of the season. And Ohtani, I don't know if you guys heard this, he had 2 home runs last night and then struck out 10 on the mound. So that guy's just getting bigger and bigger paychecks sent his way when he becomes a free agent at the end of this season. I still think it's going to be something with a B in front of it when it's all said and done. He'll get a $1 billion contract somehow, some way. It's going to be one of those things. Might be a little bit lofty, but you think what that guy's going to make on endorsements and everything else is going to be unbelievable. But yeah, it's kind of sad that that's not going to come to fruition, because I would have posted that one. I would have went back in the archives and found that little prediction that I had back in March to say, yeah, I was right, you guys were wrong, and here it is. But once again, I was incorrect in my prognostication. I'm no Nostradamus, but I do pretty good down here at World Headquarters. But anyways, to get back to the Mets, the reports are out that Max Scherzer is out of the goodness of his heart, because Scherzer's such a upstanding guy. He's just a nice guy all around. Out of the goodness of heart, he's willing to waive his no trade clause to go to has to be a serious contender for a World Series, not just a contender, not just a playoff team, but he's willing to say, okay, I'm out, I'm good to go, and I will help out for the goodness of the New York Metropolitans and their future. I will waive my no trade clause. What's funny about these guys who waive their no trade clauses for the goodness, for the good of the whole of the team, is that they don't think about that when they sign these great big deals that hamper the team for years to come, because they spend too much money on one guy. So it's kind of funny that he won't just stick around and help the team out at all and help them get out of this funk, because he's still around for one more year as well. So don't think that Scherzer is loyal by any means, because he still has one more year left on that deal with the Mets. That made him the highest AAV ever in baseball history, that he signed with the Mets. The loyalty isn't there at all. They signed with that deal. He decided he's going to Billy Ocean it and go and get tough. The tough get going. See you later. If something works for me, it got to work for me and my family. That's a bunch of crock of shit if I ever heard it. I don't understand why these guys and why these owners still give these guys these no trade deals. I would personally never do it. And I think you're going to see a lot more teams stray away from that. It doesn't do you much good. I'm not saying he asked for a trade. I'm not saying that, so don't come back at me and say that Scherzer never said he'd go. He never wanted to go. He says he was open to being dealt if the circumstances were right. So it's one of those things. But for the betterment of the Mets, Max Scherzer, out of the goodness of his heart, say, you know what, I'll go and try to win a World Series somewhere else. Well, you should have tried to win a World Series with the Mets, because that team's wanted one for so long. They haven't done it since '86 and everything else. Maybe Steve Cohen and the likes and the management group there in Flushing, Queens, maybe shouldn't have signed a couple of pitchers by the name of Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. Their combined ages over 80 years old. So you know that you don't think that maybe that was the right thing to do, but that's typically a Met thing to do, and that's what they always do. The Mets are going to Met no matter what. And another thing I heard was that Sports SNY, Sports New York, Andy Martino, he reported that Steve Cohen of the Mets, the owner, the multi-billionaire of the Mets, he's actually said, you know what, let's maybe unload some, we can get rid of some guys. We might bring in some other contracts to get some prospects. He's trying to improve his team that way. So maybe Cohen's actually given up on that promise of bringing a World Series to the Mets and to the people of Queens and Mets fans across the world, that he was going to bring a World Series there within 3 to 5 years. And I don't think that's going to happen, because Cohen's now given up on this season. Basically, he's got a press conference later on today. Maybe I should have recorded this afterwards, but he basically said, we will grab some other contracts. We will do what we can to maybe build up our farm system and see what we can do there. And maybe if we can get rid of some of our higher price guys like Scherzer, who will and go out and get some prospects, because you got to build up your farm system to win, because you've seen it with a lot of teams doing this. You got the Baltimore Orioles, you have we talk about it all the time, the Tampa Bay Rays, you have the Arizona Diamondbacks, you now have the Cincinnati Reds all of a sudden, and the Miami Marlins in that National League East, who aren't spending any money at all. So maybe Steve Cohen, he's seeing how other people are doing this, and baseball and all sports become copycat leagues, and say we don't need to spend this kind of money on this thing. Cohen can't be a complete idiot and not see how the economics of baseball are starting to work now, and because the guy didn't become a multi-billionaire being smart. Crooked maybe, or crooked maybe, but not dumb. He became that way being a smart guy. So you just wonder if that's how the economics of baseball are going to work out, and how if you're going to see more teams try to follow that model and get to the situation where they aren't spending $340 million for nothing, like literally nothing. Like, you got to think this is one of the biggest disappointing seasons in Mets history, and they aren't doing it at all. And you can't blame it all on Scherzer, and you can't blame it all on Verlander. Francisco Lindor is one of the worst players in baseball. He absolutely stinks. I think he's hitting under 200 now. He's absolutely terrible. Jeff McNeil struggling. Starling Marte starting to show his age. They just aren't good enough as a whole. Yes, they have some problem. Pete Alonso's still doing good, but he's on the injured list right now. He took a fastball to wrist, I think it was last week, so he's been out for a little bit. But this Mets team was in trouble before those injuries came about. They just didn't click. They didn't meld. They didn't get it together, and they're just not a team that is poised to do anything of any substance. They're 8.5, I think, even out of a wild card spot. And when you got to jump 6 teams to get a wild card berth, it's pretty tough to jump that many teams, because everybody plays everybody, and you got to go on like a 20-game Oakland A's 2001 or whatever season that was, kind of a winning streak, and you don't see that happening every day. Like, it worked for the Cincinnati Reds when they went on their 10, 11, 12 game win streak, whatever it ended up being last week. But they jumped into first place, and they had a shot because that division's a little bit weaker, right? But now with the Atlanta Braves playing the way they are, the division is so far gone. It's not even an attainable thought process for the Mets to get in that kind of position. You just wonder where the Mets go from here. You wonder what they can possibly do. I wouldn't say it's probably at a point now where it's not a rebuild, but a regroup for next year. See what they can do, because like I said, their owner, Steve Cohen's got a lot of money and a lot of resources to do things. They took a shot at something, it didn't work, and that happens with a lot of teams. But they took a really big shot at something that didn't work, and it's an epic failure. It's crazy how you can be so wrong on so many levels of things. And the reliever leaving isn't a big deal. He got hurt at the World Baseball Classic. It's funny how you forget about the guy's name. He hasn't played all season long, but that hasn't been the problem. They brought in long-term veteran reliever David Robertson, who I always liked in Yankee pinstripes too. He overtook for our main man Mariano Rivera when Rivera retired. It's hard to believe it's been 10 years since Rivera's been gone. Hey, like, it's unbelievable to think that's happened 10 years ago. I was at that last weekend there and everything. That's great. Anyways, I always cry about that one, but it's something to behold that the Mets just blew it. They didn't get it right. They took a shot, and the shot was wrong. It was a horrible decision making. Giving 3 pitchers who are over the age of 120 combined that kind of money, maybe that's where it went wrong, because you can't think that's going to get their seasons are going to get stronger as you age. People just wear down a little bit. Yes, these guys are freaks in nature. I get it, but it's hard to believe that a team could take this kind of a shot, like I said, and be so wrong. And as always, the Mets are going to Met, and they're not going to win another World Series. 1986 is a long time ago. What's that, 37 years now? They've been to the World Series a couple of times since, but they had that one World Championship in 86, and that's a long time ago for the Mets fans and for the Mets faithful to have to sit around and wait and see what they're already in next year land. And it's too bad, because the people of New York, that used to be a Mets town. Don't anybody fool yourself. That used to be a Mets town big time, because those Yankee teams in the 80s were quite bad. Even in the 70s, there were some rough years, but then the Mets, they won that one World Series. The Yankees took over in the mid 90s, and it's kind of been that way ever since. But when the Mets are relevant, the Mets are winning. That place is there's a lot of different color new NY hats in New York floating around there when the Mets are good. And I hope they can get back to that spot, because as always, when there's the large market teams are relevant, the smaller market teams strive for that, and they watch a little bit more when their teams are playing. It's just one of those things with baseball and with sports in general. The large market teams need to be relevant for the sport to be relevant, because it boosts ratings, everything else, and it helps. I know baseball's a regional game 100%, but it doesn't hurt to have I didn't say large market teams winning, but having the large market teams relevant helps the sports. No doubt about that. The big news yesterday here in Canada. I know might go a little bit long here at 14:20 in the morning, but you guys got time. I got time. We all got time. Man created time, so we got lots of it, right? We're the only ones who actually use time to gauge our day. Everybody else uses the sun. We just have a time clock we're supposed to be on, but I don't know why I'm rambling about that. But Alek Manoah got his first start yesterday, his first appearance. I don't know if he started or where he came in the game. It doesn't much matter. In the Florida Softball Complex League, it didn't go well for him at all, and it's a wonder how badly, and what is between the guy's ears and what happened with that. I mean, you don't lose your skill, you lose your confidence, and like I've always said, that 6 to 8 inches between your ears and where it can always go sideways. Stat line was abysmal, to say the least, yesterday. 11 runs. runs, 2 home runs given up, 10 hits, and only 2 2/3, a couple of doubles as well. And for a guy who was their prized possession on opening day and had the start, and everybody knows how badly it's went for him. He hasn't been around, like he hasn't pitched in a game situation in the 2 weeks since he's been down in the Florida Complex League, the softball complex at Softball Valley here in Lethbridge or whatever it is. It hasn't went well for Manoah. It's crazy to think how like I said, the prized possession of the Toronto Blue Jays it's just gone south. He was in the All-Star game last year. You remember he had the earbuds in and talking about punchies and strikeouts and everything else, and he was just the cock of the walk, and it's just gone completely sideways. You wonder what happened, and you wonder where the Jays go from here. I put a poll up on Twitter yesterday. It still might be on there now, and you can check it out at _1420 sports. But it's something to behold, that a guy can fall from grace that quickly, and it can't just be the pitch clock. It has to be something else. And I hope he's okay. Like, I hope that it's not a long-term mental illness thing, because that can go sideways. I'm not saying the guy's suicidal or anything, but you just wonder where that's going to end up and how that's going to all turn out. And because you just wonder, like, how it can go south that bad, and you wonder where the Jays go from here, because they got to make out some moves to get back into that wild card spot that was overtaken by the aforementioned Anaheim Angels. And you just wonder what they can do, because if they can't get him right between the ears, can they bring him up? And Tuamana, everybody who voted on the Twitter poll said he probably won't pitch in the big leagues this year. It's over. So do the Jays go out and make a deal, and then who do they trade? Like, what do they do? What can they possibly do to right the ship a little bit? Because the Jays are they're stuck in that mediocrity part of the season right now, where they're win one, lose one, a 500 team. They got to be a lot better than that to get themselves into a wild card spot. And you just wonder if they have the horses to do so there in Toronto, and what they can possibly do with their pitching staff. And if Manoah is going to be right long term, or they just shut him down for the season, because even to bring him up now, you got to think he's got to go pitch a couple of games in Double-A, and then maybe go to Triple-A before he even gets a shot back in the big leagues. But if he had this bad of a performance against the Yankees' lowest rung of the minor league totem pole or ladder, whatever you want to call it, and he had a start like that yesterday, and it didn't go well at all. Do they put him back in the old lab and say, okay, we got to figure this out, to tinker this, tinker that, because that ain't good to have that kind of a performance in the low level leagues, where guys are 18, 19 years old and could be playing a WCBL here in Lethbridge and Brooks and Medicine Hat and beautiful places like that. So you just wonder where the Jays go with Manoah. But anyways, there's my little talk for the day about Major League Baseball. I got a little bit more to talk about that, but let's hear from our friends at Caldera Labs today. Good sponsor of the show. Thank you very much to Caldera Labs for sponsoring the 1420 Sports Bar podcast. Gentlemen, summer is here, and as the sun shines brighter, your skin deserves the utmost attention. Fortunately, our friends at Caldera Lab are here to ensure your skin is well prepared for the season ahead. Ever since I incorporated Caldera Lab into my routine, taking care of my skin has never been simpler. The products are clinically proven and help visibly reduce wrinkles, fine lines, and signs of aging. You gain confidence with an impeccable first impression this summer. Don't miss out on joining the skincare revolution trusted by countless men. Use code 1420LAB at calderalab.com. And to enjoy an exclusive 20% offer off their finest products. Caldera Lab creates high-performance men's skincare products. The regimen leads off the product lineup to twice-a-day routine to transform your skin. Inside this bundle, you'll find the clean slate, the base layer, and the good. Caldera Lab's made with top-tier ingredients. It's a great addition to your daily routine, taking less than a minute in the morning and night to help reduce wrinkles, fine lines, and signs of aging. So go to get 20% off with promo code 1420LAB at calderalab.com. That's 20% by using promo code 1420LAB, and elevate your skincare game this summer with Caldera Labs today. It's great stuff. We talk about it all the time here at 1420 World Headquarters. It's great stuff, and it helps reduce the lines and everything else and the wrinkles, and that's the sun can bring to your face. Anyways, I'm starting this new campaign. I'm a Yankee fan, as you guys who are watching on YouTube, you can see all the crap behind me and everything else, that I'm a Yankee fan, a Yankee hugger from way back, and it disgusts me on a daily basis to see the president of the Josh Donaldson fan club, Josh Donaldson, still getting at bats with the Yankees. It's absolutely horrific, the performances that Giancarlo Stanton is putting up for the Yankees this here. So I'm starting some kind of a campaign, maybe. I don't know what we're going to call it. So I'm going to start it here at the Yankee Tavern North. I'm not sure exactly. I'm going to put some thought process into this throughout the day. Get rid of Giancarlo, get rid of Donaldson, figure it out. Cashman, figure it out, Boone, whoever's in charge of that schmozzle they got going out there in the Bronx now. Donaldson hitting 132 now with 2 more strikeouts last night, another non-consequential home run, because that's what Donaldson does, and then he gets the click, he gets people off his back as well. I hit a home run. What more do you want? Stanton 184. He had another strikeout last night. Something's got to be done in Yankee land. So I'm going to come up with some kind of a campaign that maybe the people out there in New York City, back in the Bronx, might jump on the bandwagon, get some t-shirt sales going or something. I don't know. Maybe I'll get Jim at the Fan of the Van to help me out with this one, because for one, I'm sick of Donaldson being around and the talks that he has, and Boone talking about Donaldson and Boone talking about Stanton, how they're close. Maybe they're not close. Maybe you're wrong, Boone. They're absolutely horrific. These two can't play baseball anymore. Donaldson is an absolute disaster. DFA this guy, send him on his merry way. He's hurting this baseball team, who's not in any way, shape, or form guaranteed a playoff spot, let alone, and I'm not saying win a World Series. Win a World Series is the least of my worries right now. Get in the playoffs, give yourself a chance, and you have Donaldson and you have Stanton taking the at-bats away from whoever. Trade him, find a place to go. We're stuck with Stanton, I know, till 2028. Figure something out with him. Send him down to the minors. Send him to a rehab assignment. I don't know. Get him right, but get rid of Donaldson. So I'm going to start something. I'm not sure exactly what it is, how I'm going to get this campaign going, but I'm starting it here at the Yankee Tavern North, otherwise known as 1420 World Headquarters. We'll start some kind of a campaign that maybe the people in the Bronx who make these decisions might listen to the voice of reason, which is me, which is the Fan of the Van, Jim Plotner, out there out there. He puts out a great show every day, but we'll figure something out. How we can get this all figured out. Voice of reason is going to start talking, because this effing stuff can't continue for the New York Yankees and their fan base. Donaldson's a joke. He's got to go. But anyways, there's my little rant for the day about the Yankees and everything else. Maybe and like I said, I'll have it up tomorrow morning. I'll have an idea for us how we're going to get this all straightened out in Yankee land, and what we can do to maybe press the issue a little bit more. So maybe somebody will start listening to the fan base a little bit more. I know they never do, but this might be the first time in the history of sports where the fan base actually wins something and gets their way, because nobody wants to see Donaldson in Yankee pinstripe anymore. Anyways, that's my talk for today. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Shop at our online store. That's always up there. It's easy to find. And if not, tell me, we'll get it up there. Give us a call. Give us a shout out at any time. Email form at 1420sports@gmail.com. We love to hear from you guys and have some mailbag stuff later on. Recording a show later on tonight with 1420 Dave, as Thursdays are a little bit busy now. So we're doing recording tonight, and then it's out tomorrow morning for you guys listen to. So make sure you guys check that out as well. And remember, as always, it doesn't matter where you are. It's who you're with. Have a good day, folks, and we will talk to you tomorrow night or tomorrow morning.
Take me out to the ball game. Take me out with the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. I don't care if I never get back. Oh, it's root for the whole team. They don't win, it's a shame. Now it's 1, 2, 3 strikes. You're out at the old ball game. Now it's root for the whole team. If they don't win, it's a shame. Now it's 1, 2, 3 strikes. You're out at the old ball game. Oh, what a game!
A message from Major League Baseball.
You just listened to the 1420 Sports Bar Podcast. 4 beer with sports talk and a whole lot more. We are part of the Belly Up Media Network.